Dread, let me tell you this. The politicians that you put in place are there to manage. You went name local government. They are the local government. The mayor is the prime minister of Portland.
We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations, but do not help the majority of the people at all. And yet they, the whole country, is left holding a huge debt. And it's such a huge debt they can't possibly repay it. So at some point, the economic hitmen go back and say, you owe us a lot of money, you can't repay your debts, so give us a pound of flesh. When I failed to bring them around, to get them to accept these loans, to get them to put their countries into servitude, then I knew that standing right behind me were what we call the jackals. These are people who overthrow governments or assassinate their leaders. And both Jaime Roldos of Ecuador and Omar Torrijos of Panama were assassinated by CIA-sponsored jackals because I failed to corrupt them.
Economic aggregate slow down in the same time where Andrew Holness is ramping up spending, which me not say must spend, because him say him go put 40 billion on road. But in the same time where this screeching halt in the economic go come, a couple months before I was here that Nigel Clark was hailed as the greatest finance minister for Jamaica. So I want to know how the economic is coming to a screeching halt for 2025.
Them are try use every little nasty tactics you can think of. Them are bribe who they want bribe. Them go intimidate who them intimidate. That is why in our party we say we know where we are going. And we say stand firm. It's a real thing. We have to go stand firm.
And because you love money and you love get sell out. Hey, I want to hear about him in the Herald. The man have good intentions, but you know a man will just inspired by money. That he would just sell you out right to sell in the Herald. Because US I go give him 120 million in my account, you know. Andrew Holness, a time for you stop it, man. A time for you stop it, Mr. Holness.
The money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations.
So when I come here and criticize this government and look at Port Antonio right now, and Jesus Christ, man, anybody who vote for this mayor should be ashamed of yourself. Any Portlander who vote for Mayor Paul Thompson shouldn't come in at the town of Port Antonio. You should be damn shame. The town of Port Antonio is a mess. It is a disgrace. The mayor is the prime minister for Portland, with direct responsibility for Port Antonio. He's the mayor of Port Antonio, not the mayor for Portland. He's the mayor of Port Antonio, which is the capital town, and he's the chairman of the municipal corporation. So 9 councillors in a Portland. Him are the chief. Him sit at the head of the table. So the 9 councillors form what you call the directors of the municipal corporation.
We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations.
See them two there? Andrew Warnes and Nigel Clark. Them use a thing named mathematical psychology and undermine the people of Jamaica, especially the lower class, in order for the economical book of Jamaica look good, especially to people on the outside. You hear them boast and brag off the past couple of years or so them not add no new taxes and them not put no percentage for no existing tax and then still collect more money and more money every year. You know what them do? Them sit back because them know it as Mr. Mathematical psychology them using them. Them know say GCT is at 15% and the more goods go up and the more them collect off of GCT, so them don't need to add no new taxes. Imagine one party used to sell for $100. Word speaking, I say used to sell for $100 and after them time and then get $15 as tax off of the party for them GCT. That same party there move to $150 is an additional half of $15 them I get now, which is $7.15 up. And the $15 make $22.50 then start get as tax for the party now. Imagine the party move again to $200. Them GCT raised by 100%, them now get $15 time money again now. A third of them I get. So more thing raised, and the more them collect for GCT, and the more them skin them teeth and laugh so them are do good. But them not to say poor people are suffer.
The finance sector is going to a screeching halt, so the economic aggregate slow down. In the same time where Andrew Warnes is ramping up spending, which me not say must spend, cause him say him go put 40 billion on road. But in the same time where this screeching halt in the economic go come, a couple months before I was here that Nigel Clark was hailed as the greatest finance minister for Jamaica. So I want to know how the economic is coming to a screeching halt for 2025. And Andrew Warnes have an election for win for 2025. So he might do this big spending for get the election in our favor, to make it look like he might do something. So I want to know if he might go spend the money for bankrupt Jamaica so him can win the election. And the next hand, I want to know how is Nigel Clark deemed and hailed the greatest finance minister in Jamaica. Told the IMF have to give him job, him have to go over in a big post because he did such a wonderful job. And if you look on the article we just post over the Gleaner, them say a screeching halt has come to the economy while the government is ramping up spending because of election time. So who have sense can pencil it out or pen it out and do the maths and tell me how it will sustain itself?
We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations.
When you see a government can't even disclose him amount of asset, because it's not that him can't disclose it, him doesn't want to disclose it. He might disclose it after the election, because him know if the Jamaican people hear how much money he might rob from them, they might drop down, they might faint away. That is why him cannot talk, him cannot tell it. So me want to know where all this money coming from. This man have over 28 account, random account. The man they just random bingo and make account up. So me want to know how is Jamaica going to stay afloat for the next 4, 5 or 10 years if we're going to go bankrupt end up like Haiti, Venezuela, and all these places. Because don't say it can't happen, because it has happened to better places where in a better position. We don't want our economy go to a screeching halt more than how it stop. Poverty rampant, scamming rampant. This government is going down in history as one of the most corrupt. When you see the government can't even disclose his own money and his asset, you must know something is wrong.
The money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country.
Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police, sir. I like me I have to hold a little reasoning because you make some speech the other day that I have a challenge with. I'm not here to bring you down or to discredit you or the members of your force for the work they are doing, which I think is pretty much commendable. A reduction in murders over 2023, 260 something less murders, commendable. Now, whether or not it's the work of the security forces that contributes to that reduction, I don't know. But you are take the praises, no problem. Because there's a thing like in sports, when the team is not doing well, it is the coach, and when they are doing well, it's the players. That's why Ten Hag get fired from Manchester United, and that's why the coach named Brown from Sacramento Kings get fired because the team is not doing well. The same thing within our thing, right? When crime is going up, we blame artists, we blame social media, we blame everything. But once it is going down, it is the work of the police. Commendations to you and your officers, sir. Now, here what I say to you, Dr. Blake. You make a speech and you say, persons not agreeing with the statistics put out, right, is eroding the public trust and is giving criminals an advantage. I want to address those two things. One, I don't know what public trust you are talking about, Dr. Blake. You have been in command of the Jamaica Constabulary Force for 9 months. So unless you would have miraculously transformed the force into something that the public believe in, then I don't know what you're talking about. Because if I should say, you have a constabulary force where people are afraid to go in and make reports for fear that their names will go back to the criminals. People are afraid to corroborate with the police, to give statements when crime occurs in communities. Why? Because we live in an informer-fed culture, right? Not one that I support, but that's what it is. That's what the reality is. And so people are afraid of their lives. And so because they don't trust members of your force, not all of them, but some, because we must admit, Dr. Blake, that the police in your force come from the same barrel where everybody else recruit from. So they come from within the communities where there are criminal elements. I'm not saying they are criminals, but may I say that everybody has scraped from the same barrel. So the same set of people them in the place them where we are condemned, and them come join your force. And some of them come with that mentality there too. And the records are there to show how many of your officers from time to time would have been arrested by your own officers for involvement in criminal activities. So I don't know what public trust you are talking about. My thing to you, Dr. Blake, would be for you to come out and express your confidence in the work of your officers and stand by the figures that were put out. You understand? Instead of trying to force people to agree with the statistics, because let me tell you this, right? There's a thing they call name eye test, what people see. There's another thing that they call name experience, what people live. And there's something called perception. And the perception is developed from what people see and what people experience, Dr. Blake. I say Kevin O'Brien Chang write an X under the NNN post with your same speech, right? Saying that it's the first in our living history that people are questioning crime statistics. That was a blatant lie. Every time crime statistics come out, every year, there have been numerous debates and disagreements with the statistics. So to say that it's the first time
that is happening is a blatant lie. But you know what is history, Dr. Blake? It is the first, 2024 is the first that Jamaicans would have experienced mass shootings. We used to watch them sitting up on TV, CNN and them something that were happening overseas. But Jamaica experienced it firsthand, starting with the Cherry Tree Lane incident in Clarendon where 8 people were murdered, and ended with the Walton Park where 5 men were brutally murdered on Walton Park Road just a few weeks ago. In between that, there were 5 other mass shootings. Never happened in Jamaica before. When people see that and experience that, Dr. Blake, it is hard for you to come out and try to force people to agree with your statistics. And I'm not saying your statistics are incorrect, sir. I'm just saying to you that you have to, what people see and experience, you cannot take that from them. The aesthetics will create the perception that it is worse than what it is. And so people are free to agree or disagree with whatever they choose to. The way you come across is just as how some others have come across in recent time, as if we're living in a state of dictatorship where you want to tell people how they should think and what they should agree with from what they shouldn't agree with. That can't be right. As I said before, come out, exude your confidence in the work of your men and women of the security forces, stand by the figures that have been put out, promise, as you have done in your speech, that it will improve. When the improvement come next to the end of 2025, we'll leave the seat and see the rate still going down. People will start to believe, sir. You don't force people to believe. It will happen naturally. I know. Uneasy is the head that wears the crown. You're the head of a unit that you're trying to transform because of the bad name that they would have and bad reputation they would have had over the years. But it doesn't happen overnight, sir. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen so quickly. Take your time. Relax. Relax. People will disagree with you and you have to learn to accept that. You can't force people to agree with you, sir.
We work many different ways, but perhaps the most common is that we will identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. However, the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our own corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, as well as our own corporations.